Well, the first PV for Super Robot Wars 30 came out. It showed a bunch of robots, everyone that was going to be present in this new series, including the new original protagonists and their robot, as well as new animations, which I'll be getting into. The big thing I wanted to talk about, however, was the much more surprising fact that Super Robot Wars 30 got an official listing on Steam. That isn't the surprise, however. What is surprising is that it's on Steam internationally, and not just for Southeast Asia, which is a first for this 3-decade-long franchise. This fact alone is something worth celebrating, as that means this is the first time international fans of the series everywhere can really experience Super Robot Wars without anything holding them back or relying on some VPN, importing, or other such nonsense. Anywho, that's all I'm going to say for now until it really comes out and play it for myself. Before we get started, I want to say that I'll be skipping around a little bit. Also, as with all Super Robot Wars trailers, they never really showed a strongest attack for nearly any of them, so we'll have to wait for the full release to see them. First off, we got Combattler V. Honestly looking better than he has ever, period. It showcases also a slight improvement on the graphics engine used in VXNT, and consequently Z3, as I'm pretty sure VXT used the same one as that. His yo-yo attack has never looked better. Mazinger Infinity is up next, which of course there has to be a Mazinger series in this game. 100% no surprises there. This version, however, is based on a newer movie, Mazinger Infinity, which came out somewhat recently, 2017. After that, we have Yusha-O Gaogaigar, which my familiarity with it lies in me watching the one episode and an opening. Code Geass also makes a comeback with the Resurrection of Lelouch edition, although the attack Suzaku piloting Lancelot is showing off is mostly the same as before. I actually haven't gotten around to watching it, but I presume that Shinkuro, with Lelouch piloting it, will make a return in some fashion. Gundam Zeta and Gundam are also here, obviously of course. Which, while for sure Amuro and Camille were gonna be in this game, I'm surprised they went with the original because, you know, even though for certain it's gonna be scrapped partway for the signature new Gundam from Char's Counterattack, they usually ignore the RX-78 in the SRW series for more modern Super Robot Wars. Geta Robo Armageddon makes another return for the umpteenth time as the final member of the Super Robot Wars mainstay trinity, that being Mazinger, Gundam, and Geta Robo, with Go looking more fabulous than ever. Heavy Metal L Gain makes a return, which is a first in forever. When was the last time he was in Super Robot Wars? SRWF? The GameCube one? Ray Earth and Gun X Sword also both make a return, although both of those were in Super Robot Wars T, so it isn't too much of a surprise. Not too interested in Ray Earth personally. Gun X Sword, on the other hand, while I'm not too familiar with the source material, looks pretty cool. Mostly because swords are cool, robots are cool, so you put together, you know, that's pretty cool. Doesn't hurt that the attack animation it showed is probably one of the better ones too. Super Robot Wars, along with having Camille from Zeta and Amuro from the original, and Char's Counterattack, tends to always include one new Gundam entry, and it seems like this time around it's Gundam Narrative, piloting a robot that I can only describe as giving me Strike Freedom Dock with Meteor Unit vibes. Technically speaking, this isn't Gundam Narrative's debut entry into the series, but since its debut was in SRW X Omega, which is a phone game, it might as well be its debut entry. In a similar entry, Majestic Prince also makes its pseudo debut. Can't say I particularly know anything about the series, nor does the robot seem all that striking from the one attack we got, but still I'm pretty sure some people are excited for him. Knights and Magic is the first debut entry. It's a pretty solid design, if a fairly mundane attack they're showing off here. Mazinger Kaiser from Mazinger Infinitism is up next. And while I say it's from Infinitism, I'm pretty sure that's just a toy line if I'm thinking of this correctly. Mazinger Kaiser is certainly not a new robot by any means, and neither is Koji, playing front and center, but there you go. And this new version of Mazinger Kaiser is certainly looking like an absolute unit. After that, we have the debut of Jay Decker, which somehow manages to not be the first sentient police robot to be in the Super Robot Wars series. If its design reminds you of Mike Gain, that's probably because Jay Decker is actually a Mike Gain sequel of sorts. SSSS Gridman also makes his debut into the series with ton of animation frames. He's giving me Ultraman vibes, which is good, but again, incredibly weak attack they're showing off. Finally, the last series to debut is Yusha-O Gaogaigar vs Betterman, which is shocking, not because it's an excuse to toss in Gaogaigar again, but rather That's like a web novel turned into a manga with no anime adaptation, so I'm surprised it even made it into SRW. In a last surprise, the SRW original SRX makes an appearance for Super Robot Wars 30 as well, piloted by Ryusei Date. SRX is basically the band Presto robot, and is a nice surprise because while most Super Robot Wars usually includes a couple of original characters, aside from the new protagonist, that role usually goes to Masaki Ando's Psybuster, with the excuse that he has a bad sense of direction and gets lost across dimensions constantly, although I'm 100% certain that he's stuck somewhere in the game as usual. Honestly speaking, I'm not particularly enamored with the lineup this time around. There aren't any entries I'm personally super excited to see for SRW 30. I would love to see G Gundam or Demon Bane make a return, although I can see why they didn't pick either one of them. Both of them don't really have mainstream appeal, nor are they new releases by any stretch of the imagination. It's not really a big cast either with many returning members. Still, it's a pretty safe cast overall, which is probably good for Super Robot Wars' first real international release. Would have been safer if you threw in Evangelion and Gurren Lagann in there for a bit more mainstream appeal, but those guys have been working overtime the past 6 or so games, so it would be pretty tiring for continuing fans to see them again. More importantly beyond all of that, however, is that in this trailer, we got our first good look at our original protagonists and their signature mech, which to me is always the most exciting part to any new Super Robot Wars entry. In a fitting if kinda disappointing way, Super Robot Wars 30 decided to make the main character's robot be their signature Hucklebein. For those of you who are new to the series, the Hucklebein is basically Super Robot Wars' signature real robot. If Gundam has RX-78, then SRW has the Hucklebein. I'm not particularly partial to real robots in the first place, although I would have been equally as disappointed if Grungast happened to be the main character's mech. It's not a bad mech really, I'm just always excited to see what kind of craziness the main character's mech ends up pulling off. Librasta, Zyraizo, and Autobot are some of my favorite mechs in the entire franchise, so to get Leap Slasher again is a little disappointing. Here's to hoping that the main character's inevitable upgrade halfway through the game is super impressive to really make up for it. And so yeah, that's Super Robot Wars 30 from what we saw. Looks fine for the most part. I can see a bit of a graphical upgrade in comparison to say XV&T, although it's very light overall. This whole choosing missions to take part in from a list is new, although it's giving me strong phone game vibes alongside an auto battle system. While part of me sees the auto battle system and thinks, well, that's really good for lazy people, another part of me thinks that you should be making a more engaging game rather than implementing a system to let people skip your gameplay. It's obvious from what they said that this is something they're bringing over from their mobile game iteration. However, most phone games have an auto battle system because they are insanely grindy and want players to just run that stuff in the background. It shouldn't really have a place in a console game, and playing the game should be the fun part itself. While I can't fault a game for including this sort of feature, if it bleeds into making the game grindier in some sort of way, design-wise, then I can't say I like it. Like, for example, SRW 30 includes a ton of missions with no story that are just for grinding EXP. Can't say I would be a fan. Anyways, we'll see about all of that and more when the game finally comes out on October 28th, 2021. There isn't much more for me to say until it comes out, so you'll see me throw a video about it when the time comes. And that's pretty much all I gotta say. If you like the content, feel free to do all the supportive things, like, subscribe, all of that. If you want to talk about SRW in any way, that's what the comment section is down there for. And yeah, with that, I'll be seeing you later. Till next time.